The Trump administration admits that all its talk about fast-tracking the deportation of a family from Colorado in retaliation for the alleged crimes of a relative was just that, talk. A demand for Colorado's election data could be tied to the effort to spring an election-denying clerk out of prison. She's in there for her role in an election systems breach. Denver is worried a bridge is too weak to hold ambulances. That's not great because it's right next to a hospital.
But at this point, there's really nothing we can do besides just band-aiding it.
A super rare bird spotted in Boulder, and it's not leaving, apparently.
This is a rarity, you know? This is amazing.
And speaking of strange birds, testimony's wrapping up in MyPillow guy Mike Lindell's defamation trial in Denver. That's tonight on Next. You're never going to believe this, but court documents show the White House was not telling the truth about fast-tracking the deportation of a family in Colorado after their husband and father was arrested for the anti-Semitic attack in Boulder. The White House said that the suspect's wife and children had been taken into custody and could be deported out of this country that night. Well, now the administration is telling a judge they never actually planned to do that. Marshall Zellinger's along now to explain why the administration could have been blocked even if they had tried.
Yeah, the family of that Boulder suspect are all here on visas that expired in 2023. Regardless of their status, because they've been in the U.S. longer than 2 years, getting deported overnight was never a legal possibility. Family arrested, could be deported by tonight. These are the social media posts by the White House after this man, Mohammed Suleiman, was arrested, accused of firebombing and injuring 15 peaceful marchers supporting Israeli hostages held by Hamas. But those social media posts were spreading lies. How do we know? Federal court documents submitted by the U.S. Department of Justice. You see, once these statements were posted online, the family of the Boulder suspect sought a temporary restraining order from being deported. In response, the DOJ provided 82 pages of documentation to the court, including an affidavit from an ICE deportation officer saying, quote, based on the information currently available to ICE, the wife and her kids are not eligible for expedited removal proceedings. And that ICE officer wrote, quote, I repeatedly assured the wife that neither she nor her children were being removed from the country at this time. They could seek relief or protection from removal. It turns out the temporary restraining order request was likely not necessary, only a response to inaccurate social media posts from the White House. In an order today, a federal judge in Colorado transferred the temporary restraining order case to Texas because the family is being held in an ICE facility southwest of San Antonio that houses families. Before transferring the case, the judge noted the false statements by the White House. Quote, the government further states that the wife and her family have been placed in conventional as opposed to expedited removal proceedings and suggests that this was the plan all along. The family is challenging their detention as punishment for what their husband and father is accused of doing in Boulder. If they win that argument, it's possible they're released, but because of their status, they could still face immigration hearings to be deported on a traditional timeline, which is in front of a judge and not at the whim of the Department of Homeland Security or the president or the White House social media.
I feel like, again, it comes down to a conversation about due process, right, Marshall, that the Trump administration says, well, let's just skip to the end where this thing happens to somebody, and then somebody else comes in and says, well, actually, America is a nation of laws, and you kind of have to follow the laws. Like, this is not the only case that's taken that path.
Right, and I've learned that expedited is a legally defined term within immigration proceedings, and there are situations where you could be deported by the Department of Homeland Security without ever appearing in front of a judge. This is just not one of those cases.
All right, Marshall Zellinger expedited non-legal term that report when we got that information this afternoon. Marshall, thank you. The Department of Justice is demanding Colorado turn over or preserve a massive amount of election data from the past 2 presidential elections. It's not clear what this will be used for, but Democratic Secretary of State Jen Griswold has been an outspoken critic of President Trump and his election rigging claims. Last month, the DOJ demanded Griswold's office turn over, quote, all records related to the 2024 election and to preserve any remaining records from 2020. The state is only required to preserve records of federal elections for 22 months. So that could include voter registrations, ballots, voting equipment records. The DOJ has accused multiple states of improperly vetting voters or improperly maintaining voter rolls. Colorado appears to be the first state to get such a sweeping request for information. The demand to Griswold's office says the department got a complaint about Colorado. Trump does have a special interest in Colorado's elections because of that woman, Tina Peters. The request for information came shortly after the president demanded the former Mesa County clerk be released from prison. She was sentenced to 9 years for her role in a breach of her county's election systems. She was in there with fellow conspiracy theorists looking for proof of Trump's election rigging claims. Griswold has faced a number of lawsuits from conservative legal groups claiming that Colorado's voter rolls are inaccurate and outdated. She calls this new federal request baseless. They say that they've sent DOJ 2 copies of the master voter file from 2023 and 2025, as well as a copy of the voter history file from after the 2024 election. It's not clear if that's going to satisfy the DOJ. Federal judge says he will rule quickly on whether President Donald Trump broke the law by deploying the military to the streets of Los Angeles to face off with immigration protesters. Leaders in Colorado have been watching that case with interest out of fears that Trump could send the military into Denver's streets next. Today, Colorado AG Phil Weiser joined 20 Democratic attorneys general on a legal brief supporting California's lawsuit challenging Trump's order. Those AGs say President Trump's order federalizing the National Guard and deploying them against the protesters, quote, sets a chilling precedent that puts the constitutional rights of Americans in every state at risk. They also argue Trump's order is not specific to Colorado, that could be used to deploy the National Guard of any state in the next 2 months. The Trump administration and its allies are floating the threat of arrest against Democratic critics across the country, including here in Colorado. And in California today, Senator Alex Padilla was forcibly removed from a press conference, taken to the ground, and handcuffed after he interrupted a Trump cabinet official with a question.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary.
Colorado's Democratic Senator Michael Bennet is now calling for a full investigation of what happened today with Senator Padilla when he tried to ask about the immigration raids in his state. Padilla said after all this happened, when he was cuffed, taken to the ground, he was not formally arrested or detained. The Trump administration is saying that Senator Padilla was disrespectful. And they say the Secret Service thought that he was a random attacker. They falsely claimed that he didn't identify himself. You heard him do it on the video. Senator Padilla getting roughed up follows the arrest of a judge in Wisconsin on an immigration case, the arrest of a congresswoman from New Jersey over a protest outside an immigration facility, and threats to arrest Democratic mayors and governors over immigration policy, including here in Colorado. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet says Padilla was assaulted. He called the incident a gross abuse of power, says he's demanding a full investigation. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado suggested that Senator Padilla committed a crime at that press conference where he attempted to question Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Boebert's office specifically referred us to 2 federal crimes that involve impeding federal officers, which could carry prison terms up to 10 years. Boebert does have expertise on this issue, having been arrested herself in 2015 for allegedly impeding officers trying to make arrests in Colorado. And Boebert is an outspoken advocate for protecting law enforcement officers, with the exception of those attacked by J6 rioters at the Capitol, whose pardon she supported. Testimony in My Pillow guy Mike Lindell's election rigging defamation trial nearly wrapped up today. Closing arguments are expected tomorrow morning. The final witness for the voting system company executive who's suing Lindell, final witness was an election cybersecurity expert who testified today that he shares valid concerns about voting machines, but he dismissed Lindell's conspiracy theories. Quote, "That is the crazy town," said elections expert Dr. Alex Halderman. Lindell's team called only one witness after that. His defense is resting on the idea that whether or not his election rigging claims were true, he believed them. The other side's trying to prove that Lindell was reckless and that he ruined a man's reputation with those claims. Closing arguments are scheduled for tomorrow morning, and then an 8-person federal jury gets the case. If they are unanimous that Lindell was responsible for defamation, they will then decide on financial damages. And no, because somebody's asking, President Trump cannot pardon Lindell for a civil judgment, if there is one. One of Denver's busiest bridges is beginning to fall apart. The city says it may not be strong enough for big vehicles like ambulances, which is a problem because the bridge is right next to Denver Health. Here's Evan Krugel.
Thousands of people use this bridge over Cherry Creek every day. But those who drive across 6th Avenue and those who cruise beneath it might want to close their ears for the following soundbite.
We actually had a partial deck failure about a year ago, and we're tracking another location in that bridge where we could potentially have another emergency repair. But at this point, there's really nothing we can do besides just band-aiding it.
City engineer Brad Chamberlain says the condition of this bridge is now sadder than the graffiti underneath it, making it one of 67 bridges in Denver that's considered to be in poor condition.
And once a bridge reaches that poor rating, you really can't get it back. So you really have to look for that replacement as the option.
Brad says this bridge and the Lincoln Street Bridge next to it pose a bigger problem than most because of their location next to Denver Health.
Both bridges, I should also mention, as Jennifer showed previously, are at risk of being load restricted, meaning that heavier commercial and emergency vehicles might be restricted from using those bridges moving forward.
That would mean ambulances like this one could have to find a different route to and from the hospital. That presentation at a Wednesday council committee meeting drew nervous laughter from council members as Dottie unveiled a new dashboard that allows people to check the condition of bridges citywide.
I feel like I had enough things to have nightmares about and keep me up at night, but I'll just peruse this dashboard for even more.
But fixing the bridges is no laughing matter because Dottie says it needs roughly $22 million more each year to fix them.
I'd love to figure out if there is a different way that we find pathways for funding for things like bridges, because you cannot just close 6th Avenue.
Dottie did stress all of those bridges are safe, at least for now. A spokesperson for Denver Health told me they were not aware of any potential restrictions for emergency vehicles until I emailed them today. They said they will begin investigating this matter immediately. Kyle, those 67 bridges in poor condition just earned Denver a D- rating from the American Society of Civil Engineers. That's not good. They know it's a problem. Yeah. The question, how do they get the money to fix it?
So for everybody who drives over that bridge with some regularity.
Or under it.
Good point, asking for when will we know more about this repair?
Yeah, so they have a engineer who's going to be looking at this right now. They expect that to wrap up some point in August. Obviously, those load restrictions could go into effect any time after that. That's a big question. If those load restrictions do need to happen, is there some way they can exempt ambulances from that and keep that bridge safe? Ultimately, they know they need to make fixes there. The question, what will that look like?
If nothing else, ambulances have everybody's attention, so there's lots of eyes on it.
You bet.
Evan Krugel, thank you. Greeley's becoming the latest city to restrict camping, even if the property owner says it's okay.
And I wasn't expecting her to still be here. And here she is.
You don't see a bird like this one every day. In fact, it's only been spotted in Colorado 3 times. And just when folks think the rare bird is gone, she appears again. That's next. People can no longer legally camp on public property in Greeley, like on a sidewalk or in a park. Camping ban there started yesterday. It also limits camping on private property to 7 days per year, even if somebody has permission from the property owner. Some city leaders think this ban is going to help with safety concerns in Greeley, but advocates for people living on the streets say they think that's only going to make things worse for homeless folks because the city doesn't have a 24/7 shelter.
Definitely a bomb. It's like taking a sledgehammer when you need a screwdriver. It's not solving any problems. It's just breaking more systems and making it more difficult for people.
City says they'll start with verbal warnings for violators, then move to citations, and they said arrests would be a last resort.
Another warm late spring day with downtown temperatures close to 90. Now tonight tracking severe weather over northern Colorado. We've had a few showers, some wind across the metro area as the drive is underway, and the chance for a little more rain over the next 2 hours. Temperatures trending above average, but have cooled back due to the cloud cover and the rain moving from west to east off the foothills. Severe thunderstorm watch north of Denver, extending up into Wyoming and Nebraska for storms that are dropping 1 to 2 inch diameter hail. Thunderstorm wind gusts of 50 and 60 miles per hour. Severe thunderstorms have been rolling out of Wyoming into Weld County and also portions of Logan County. There was a warning last hour and that has diminished, but the storms are still very strong, and more moisture upstream from the metro area means we could still see a brief shower here in the city along with a bit of thunder and lightning, even though we're not included downtown in the severe thunderstorm watch extended out until 11 o'clock tonight. We will see the threat of hail-producing thunderstorms for a few more hours over northeastern Colorado. And then tomorrow, we'll see that threat grow to include a larger slice of the eastern plains. Chance for a little bit of rain over the next 2 hours. Things really calm down. Temperature trend really comfortable. We have a chance for rain from storms tomorrow. Then we're on our way to a hot, dry holiday weekend with highs in the low to mid 90s for Father's Day.
A rare sighting has bird watchers flocking to Boulder.
When I heard about this bird, I was both shocked and excited.
Shocked and excited. A once-in-a-lifetime visit, and this bird apparently is in no hurry to leave town. Hey, a reminder, we're not going anywhere either. Who am I kidding? It could be any day now. But we are on 9 News Plus, streaming 6 p.m. nightly, and we're a podcast wherever you get those. There's a bird most amateur ornithologists never get a chance to see, at least not in Colorado. It's called an anhinga, and its surprise appearance in Boulder is making for some excellent people watching.
I mean, think about it. How many people in the state of Colorado have no freaking clue about this bird? How would you? She's kind of sunning herself and preening, right? Yep. Making herself pretty for us when she flies.
When I heard about this bird, I was both shocked and excited.
She's a beautiful bird.
I was shocked because I knew that it had only been documented before 3 times in Colorado.
I can't say her official name. Anhinga.
The name is anhinga.
The snake bird.
So there's been no sightings in Colorado for 22 years, and suddenly one showed up in eastern Boulder County and has now been here for at least 11 days.
Oh, she's moving.
This is a tropical species, so it's throughout the northern part of South America, Central America, and in the US, its biggest distribution in this country is in Florida.
So you got to look for movement.
Yeah, I see it though.
Yeah.
It's not at all certain why it's here, but it's most likely been put off course by some sort of atmospheric phenomenon. A big storm probably brought it somewhat inland.
She's gonna go. She's gonna go.
She got caught in the branch.
She's gonna go. And this is rarity, you know. This is amazing that it's happening here. It's not supposed to be here, but she's gonna find out here in a few months that it's gonna be too cold to stick around. So this isn't Florida weather, is it?
No.
Seems like she wasn't too good at the flying. That wasn't very impressive.
Good at the flopping.
Good at the flopping. Yeah. Whenever there's one bird, you always wonder if they're like, where the hell is everybody else? We're back with your feedback next. It's a sign that's doing a crappy job warning people in Littleton about road work. Viewer named Nancy sent us this sign posted near Bowles Avenue in Littleton. It says, road work ahead on Bowles, which sounds painful. Hopefully drivers can pass that obstruction without too much difficulty. If you see a sign that makes you shift around in your seat, email it to next@9news.com. Feedback tonight from Brandon, who says, you say attorneys general, but then you said AGs. Shouldn't it be A's G? You're probably right, Brandon, but pointing that out to me makes you the A stickler for grammar. That's what it makes you. Feedback from FD on Twitter, who writes, Kyle Clark should be in prison, but there he is on the news daily with all his BS. Here's what you can do, FD. Just grab a Sharpie and draw some bars on your TV screen. Fixed it.